Well, check out my latest toy. Oh, hang on, wife's coming. Today I'd like to share with you a much needed upgrade to my workshop, an essential piece of equipment that will lead to significant gains in finish quality and productivity. Oh, I think I got away with that. What do you think? Okay, well here's the thing. I've wanted one of these for a long time now, and the opportunity came up recently and I decided to treat myself. This one is made by a company called Hare & Forbes in Australia, but it's the exact same model you'd buy in the US, marketed by Harbour Freight. They're all made in China. Problem is that when you buy these, they come with this chintzy little pickup tube for the media, and it's got a concentric tube design, and it's a way of attempting to mix in some air with the media as it's drawn up toward the gun. Trouble is they pretty much don't work straight out of the box. You've got to do a lot of modification on them to get them to do anything at all. So we're going to throw that away, and instead what I'm going to do is to make a metering valve. Now this is a way of doing roughly the same job but in a more controllable way. This is an aluminium casting, and this video is not so much about making the metering valve itself, although I will cover that in a later video. It's about how to make the hollow casting by creating a core. Now there are stacks of videos on making cores for casting, and I went through the lot. I looked at them all, and I tried various methods, and some were failures, but the last method I used worked perfectly. So that's what this video is about. So let's check it out. Okay, so this is the pattern for the body, and this is just 3D printed, and I use PLA for the print, and it's been filled and painted on the outside just to make it glossy and get rid of the texture from the 3D printing. This is the box that I'll be making up the core in, so it's a core box, and also 3D printed in PLA, but I didn't bother filling this because it's not like you have to withdraw this from a sand mold. You just got to get the hardened core out of these two impressions. So we'll see how that goes, but I think the texture is not going to be a problem. Now the other thing I'm going to need is sodium silicate. Now I made this sodium silicate myself, and all you need to do is get hold of these bags of silica gel that come in packaging, and once you collect enough of that, you can make your own sodium silicate with caustic soda or lye or sodium hydroxide, whichever of those names you prefer. And there's recipes on YouTube you can look up, and it's essentially just a matter of dissolving the silica gel in the caustic soda, boiling it, and driving off water. So we'll see how this goes. And I've just got ordinary beach sand to make my core, and we'll give this a whirl and see what happens. I'm not sure what the correct ratio is for the sodium silicate and the sand. I just sort of make it up until it is sort of pasty and it holds together easily. That looks not bad. So I'm thinking that's the sort of texture that you want. Right, let's try this. It's going to be a bit of a mission to get it in here. Okay. So as far as I can tell, I got that packed fairly tight from all three positions. So the next thing we need to do is harden that. Now, I was watching My Boy, and I must say I learned a lot by watching his videos, and anybody who's into metal casting would already know about him. And he started out using baking soda and vinegar to make carbon dioxide to harden these cores. And I've noticed recently he's got a pretty flash looking setup with a large CO2 cylinder and a regulator, and he's got a flexible hose and various little shaped funnels and so on the end. Now, I don't do enough of this to justify renting a CO2 cylinder, and I went down to the local bike shop, and you can buy these little cylinders which are pure carbon dioxide, and these are for filling bicycle tyres, emergency repairs for bicycle tyres. And you can buy the little valve as well. So I forget how much it was, like $20 or something. And these, although they're fairly expensive, like I say, that I don't really do enough of this to justify buying a bigger setup. Now, I've never done this before, so we're about to see whether we shoot this core out of there like a piece of shrapnel. And I understand you just pierce that. There we go. And the issue is going to be, can we release this gas slowly enough? So let's just see. Okay. Now, the first time I saw this happen, I thought it was some sort of witchcraft. I couldn't believe how quickly this stuff went from a friable state into a more or less a solid state. And I went to a foundry once where they were casting aluminium alloy, and they demonstrated this process, and it just blew me away. I couldn't believe it. So we're about to see whether I can replicate those fantastic results. So that gas is still issuing from there. Thing is, actually doesn't seem that hard. Let's give it a bit more. Well, it sort of feels better. No, that didn't work at all. So I wonder what I'm doing wrong. Okay, back to the drawing board. Well, after that failure yesterday, I rammed up a second core, and this time I ran a wire, I think this is called venting. So I ran that wire through from one end to the other, and also through from this end into the center. And I ran a second canister of gas through that. And let's give it a look, see how it went. It sort of feels quite rigid and firm on the end. So maybe this is a good sign. Oh, poo. Alright, well, this is not working out. It's actually quite firm. So what went wrong? I was sort of wondering whether I could just sort of glue that together with some PVA maybe. Okay, that's another fail. So, actually that bit's quite good. That's a shame, so close. Alright, there is one other option. I was reading today that you can mix just ordinary sand with epoxy, like a 2-pack epoxy resin, and use that as the core. Now I'm guessing it's going to be a lot harder to get out of the finished casting, but nothing a masonry drill won't fix. So I think that's my next option, but I will have to put a release agent on this core box. So yeah, you live and learn, don't you? But that almost worked. Trouble is I'm out of CO2. Alright, so here we go. This is the next trial. Now this stuff is white lithium grease. I'm going to use this as a release agent. Got a really nice smell, this stuff. And if this sand and epoxy completely sticks, I guess I can just break away the 3D printed core box. But I'm pretty sure that this method is going to work. It's certainly going to solidify, that's not a problem. The thing is it going to be easy to get out of the core box, and is it going to be easy to get out of the finished casting? Alright, so that's ready. Let's go and mix up some sand and epoxy. Alright, so this is the material I'm going to use. This is a clear epoxy. I bought this for actually a woodworking job where I want to be able to fill some defects in the wood and make it absolutely clear. As it turned out, I didn't use it, so I'm going to try this. This is a 2-to-1 mix, and I'm guessing for that much sand, how much is that? That's probably only about 3/4 of a cup. It's about 12 grams of resin part A. So one another 6, a bit over. So that's about 20 grams of resin, and I've got about, like I say, about 3/4 of a cup of sand. Probably won't use all of this resin. Now, if I had any brains, I'd actually do a trial run first. I'd pack this into a paper cup or something, but I was never a patient person. Like I say, I'm fairly confident this is going to work. Famous last words. Now, that's about the same consistency that I had with the sodium silicate. And I'm guessing you don't want this too wet. You want it to be a matrix of resin and sand. We don't want to have too much resin because it's going to burn out when we put the hot metal around it. So that's the question, you know, is the resin just going to vaporize and leave behind the crumbly sand, or is it going to hold together long enough? Alright, I'm pretty happy with the consistency of that. So many things can go wrong here. Alright, I'm guessing I only used about half that resin. Alright, I was lucky there. I just about used all of that up. So I'm just going to run a vent through here. I'm not sure how important this is for this style of core. Alright, so I'm going to put that aside to harden, and we'll give that a try. Okay, well, it's 24 hours later. The resin in that cup is set. A little bit of sand that I had left over has also set. So let's pull this apart and see whether I've got a big sticky mess inside. Sweet! That's brilliant. Now, can I get it out of this other half? Alright, that is a thing of beauty. I think if I was doing this again, I'd probably sand the inside of that core box just to remove all the texture. I think that's all that was holding it in there, was just the actual layer lines in the 3D print were acting like a key and holding this in. You can actually see some of the imprint in the sand itself. But that's what I was expecting to get with my sodium silicate when I took it out of that core box. But this stuff, I don't know, that seems to work really well. Okay, so what I need to do now is to ram up my sand mold to take that core, and we're in business. Happy days. Alrighty. Now, the only issue is where to put the sprue. I'm thinking there. If you watched my last video, I was casting in brass and I was doing a brass nameplate, which is a very challenging casting. So I think this one, if I'm doing an aluminium, even though it's got a core, I think it's going to be a walk in the park compared to the last one I did, or the last two. And to get two good castings, I think I made 6 or 7 sand molds. I did 4 different pours. Got 2 failures and I got 2 good ones. I think I used nearly 8 kilos of gas. So yeah, I think this one's going to be a bit of a relaxing build. Alright, well, that's my pretty rough looking pouring basin. Where to do this? This is not symmetrical. This arm is longer than the other one, so it's got to make sure I get it the right way around. Cool. Ugh, that shouldn't happen. There you go, didn't need any screws after all. Now, I believe you're supposed to vent at the ends of the core. So I'm just going to poke some holes in the top section in the cope. Alright. Alright, that closed with a bit of a rush, so I hope it's okay. So these 3 holes are where I vented through from the bottom of the cope. So this is going to get really exciting. We're about to pour red hot metal into an enclosure, a closed space with some highly flammable epoxy resin. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. Alrighty, stand by for action. Oh, that was a bit underwhelming, really. I can see a little bit of smoke coming out one of the vent holes, but other than that, there's all a big nothing, really. So I can't smell anything burning, so I'm interested to see what that core looks like. Alright, let's see what we got. Wow, that's interesting. Looks like a good casting. Alright, what's interesting is that the core extension has completely disappeared off the end of the casting. So there should be a protrusion just here, Another one just here, another one just here. And we got some like blackened sand in the center, in the void. So let me see if I can knock that out and we'll see what it looks like inside. There's a good close-up look at what's happened on the end here. The actual casting is pretty good. I can actually see the 3D print lines in the surface. Even though I'd filled and primed and top coated that pattern, it still left a slight texture, but the surface finish is good as I want anyway. So let's see if we can get this stuff out of here. Surprisingly soft. Certainly left a hole there, which is what I wanted. Well, that's encouraging. There you go. That's what you want. I'm calling that good. It came out easier than I thought. The surface finish in there is pretty good. And work first time. So that's it. I'm giving sodium silicate cores the flick, and I'm doing it this way from now on. It certainly makes a much stronger core. Came out easy enough. No explosions when I poured the hot metal around it. I'm still at a loss as to why that just disintegrated off the end there though. That's quite strange. Maybe somebody else had experience with this, you let me know in the comments. But either way, it doesn't matter. We've got a good casting. It's hollow like it's meant to be, so we can get on with the machining. Just washed that out, and the surface on the inside is perfect. That needs almost nothing done to it. And let's see if I can get a view down the tapered section. Can you see? Yeah, there you go. So the junction between the tapered venturi and the main through hole looks good. It's clean enough, smooth enough. Once again, probably don't need to do anything at all to that. So that, my friend, is a success as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm happy. Okay, well, with that resounding success, I think I'm going to make this a wrap. And my suggestion from now on would be, if you're wanting to make cores for small castings in the home shop, this is probably a much more viable method. I think that amount of resin, that's about 750 mils, and use about 2 to 3% resin to sand. And as you saw, it was quite easy to remove, and it stood up to the heat of working with aluminium anyway. If you're working with brass or iron, then maybe you need to rethink that. But for me, keeping a cylinder of CO2 gas in the shop is really not an option. And I was pleasantly surprised when that worked. So in the next video, I'm going to go through the machining of this metering valve and try to help you to understand what I believe it does and how it improves the operation of a media blaster in the home shop. So join me then. We're going to get over to the lathe and make chips and maybe do some milling. But for now, thanks for watching.